On your Thursday episode of Locked On Raptors, little by little, these Toronto Raptors are figuring some stuff out.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Thursday, January the 22nd, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join as always, and great come talk ball late at night. Discord after dark, baby. The Western road trip continues, and the sickos are in there. The night owls talking hoop deep into the wee hours. And it was very much the case last night as the Raptors took down the Sacramento Kings 122-109 on Wednesday night to go 2-0 on their California back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, Golden State, Sacramento. Big couple of wins for an injury-riddled Toronto Raptors team. We're going to get into how finally, mercifully, the Raptors found a way to bust a zone defense in the third quarter that they completely blew this game open on Wednesday night. We'll also get into the good, the sad, and the yes, the Sacramento Kings make me depressed. And we're going to start off with a look at what I think is sort of, not necessarily just something to pull from last night's game, although there were plenty of things in last night's game that were, that can fuel this take. But I do think, for me, my overarching takeaway from this game from the last little while here is we're seeing the effects of just playing competitive basketball start to bear fruit when it comes to player development. We're watching player development happen in real time. We're watching players burst through the wall, as it were, and discover things about themselves as the season progresses, which is the thing that you didn't really get the last couple of years when the context was not really a context at all. The team was openly and somewhat understandably trying to lose basketball games, but that's the cost you pay during years where you've just kind of said nothing matters. You don't really learn anything, and if you're a player, you don't have the opportunity to kind of do the iron sharpens iron thing, right? Like, this is just the reality of professional basketball. If you're playing real games, if you're up against scouting reports that are actually geared towards stopping you, if you are seeing coverages from teams that actually care about stopping you, you're forced to learn. You're forced to adapt. You're forced to absorb new information and apply it and then improve from there. That's just not what we saw the last couple of years, where it was basically just like an experimentation think tank for the Raptors, where it was like, yeah, Scottie Barnes, we're not really worried about like improving anything. Just do your thing all year and take weird jumpers and try pull up threes and just kind of do the creation thing that's clearly not working. We're not worried about this improving over the course of the season, and opposing defenses are not worried about changing the scouting report at all. I think, we'll get into the zone stuff later. I think the reason the Raptors are seeing so much zone is that teams actually care about stopping the Toronto Raptors from scoring points this season. And again, these things all require learning, adaptation, and growth in order to continue being a good team. Because if you don't do that stuff, you just become, stagnant, and you don't find ways through the obstacles you're facing and all of that. Like, it's, Darko talks about it all the time, like win the day, get 1% better every day, all that type of stuff, like very coachy, corny speak, but like it's true. And I think, again, we're seeing just the value of playing real basketball games come to bear with a handful of guys. And last night, I think it was a good example of that. Immanuel Quickley stacking two of his best games all season back-to-back here. It wasn't the loud 40-point game he had against Golden State in Sacramento. It was just 18 points, 6 boards, 8 assists, but I thought it was a really tidy, clean game from him overall. And I don't know what happened when he sat those couple of games with a sore back, but he looks so much more bursty since he got back in the lineup. Way better getting downhill. And part of it is it seems like they are making a more concerted effort to get him more pick and roll creation touches, which is, we've talked about it, the numbers there suggest he's quite good at doing that specifically within the half court context. And him and Scottie Barnes have run more pick and roll these last couple of games than it feels like they have basically ever. I got to dig into the stats on that. I don't have access to those specific stats with my stats pages I pay for, but it's out there somewhere. I'll see if I can get a friend to dig it up somewhere. But either way, the way Scottie and IQ have worked in pick and roll, the way IQ just in general, I think has shown a little bit more command, good decision making, even just like small stuff. Like he doesn't make bozo plays. He's always been like a high IQ guy when it comes to just like not turning the ball over, making the smart reads, not, forcing the issue, etc., not sort of overestimating his own abilities for stuff. But even just last night, just like subtle stuff, there was a possession in the fourth quarter where, the Kings were kind of threatening, still the game was in hand, but the Raptors were kind of bleeding some threes at the other end. And there was a possession where Quickley got it in like semi-transition, and it looked like he was just going to go take it all the way to the rim, despite the Kings getting back quick, being in position. There were guys in the way. And instead of doing that, he just was like, okay, you know what? Let's burn some clock here, and just kind of brought it back out, got the Raptors into their stuff in a half-court set. Can't remember how the possession finished, but just like subtle, small stuff like that, where not forcing things, just kind of understanding time and score and the place within the game. That stuff, I think, is, showing some signs of growth when it comes to Quickley. And I think just like with IQ in particular, we act like 26-year-olds are finished products. And in some cases, that's true. I think particularly with guards, I'm willing to give a lot of space for sort of incremental year-over-year improvement, just because that's sort of what happens when you see coverages 1,000 different times over the course of the year. You run the same set 100 different times. Like, you eventually just kind of get better at this stuff as you go. And we've seen it, frankly, with the Toronto Raptors in the past. Like, DeMar DeRozan comes to mind as a guy who was that sort of every year he got a little bit better at stuff. He got a little bit more comfortable reading defenses, got a little bit more comfortable playing out of traps and double teams, got a little bit more comfortable making sort of creative reads and passes and sort of becoming eventually the engine of a very, very good offense. I'm not saying Immanuel Quickley is going to go become the engine of a very, very good offense, but I do think there's plenty of space for Quickley, the player he is now, to become something more refined and better in the years to come. And that's why I've always been pretty confident that at some point during the life of this contract, his deal is going to look, if not like a bargain, certainly just fine, and not like this sort of no value albatross hanging around the necks of the team, or the neck of the team. Like, this is just how it goes with guards in particular. And if you think about it, like, Quickley has not had a lot of time at the helm of the team, right? Like, he had the back part of the 23-24 season, which by and large, pretty fake. They had a nice stretch there before everyone got hurt, and then he was hurt and missed time for personal reasons. And it just like, there was nothing really to be gleaned from that. Last year, he plays 33 games, most of which in the second half of the season, where the team was clearly not trying. Again, there's no iron sharpening iron in that stretch, as good as he played for stretches of that time once he got healthy. Like, this has been his first full season as the team's lead guard. And yeah, it's been rocky. Like, and look, he's clearly playing better with Jamal Shead on the floor with him too, because he's not your classic run 100 pick and rolls point guard. That's fine though. Like, he can still be an effective, additive, valuable player playing in more of a hybrid role. And I frankly thought some of the best stuff from Quickley last night was when he was on the ball. His 3-point shooting was meh last night. Didn't get a lot of looks off. It was only 1 of 4. But what he did as a sort of agent of piercing the defense and getting paint touches and collapsing was really impressive. And I thought it was, again, like, his downhill energy and force has been way more impressive of late. That burst, he had the one sort of semi-transition drive where he turned on the Jets at half court and just beat his dude to the rim and scored through contact. Like, we're seeing, again, incremental growth, and it's just what happens when you play real basketball. Same thing for Gradey Dick, who, look, didn't hit his threes last night, 1 of 6, not amazing, but loved his process. He's looking just like a full-on competent defensive player right now, which again is something that I think comes from playing on a team in a competitive environment where there's like a standard and an expectation for defense. Like, we've seen legitimate, clear player development from Dick on the defensive end this season. And don't look now, but Gradey Dick, and if you're driving, be careful not to drive off the road. Gradey Dick is shooting 74% at the rim this season. Kind of crazy. He's up to 56% on twos, way beyond where he was in his first couple seasons. He's up to 65% on twos in his last 5 games, where he's averaging 11 a game. Like, there's some stuff here. There's signs of life with Gradey Dick. And what does it mean for the long term with Gradey Dick? Is he going to be on the team long term? Is he going to be a casualty of the salary cap math as they try to keep a guy like MAMU this summer? We'll talk about that a bit more later on. But for me, like, it doesn't really matter. Him playing better makes all of those options more interesting, and more viable avenues come out of it if Gradey Dick is improving. And again, the three's got to fall at some point, but there are signs here that he's figuring some stuff out. And man, some of those finishes last night in transition, semi-transition, through contact, around contact, the contorting finishes, he's always had that sort of adaptability in the air to change his shot when he runs into contact. He's never been able to finish through it in his career. To be up to 74% at the rim this season, like a tiny sample, like 40 of 50. I think he's 40 of 54 per clean the glass at the rim this season. Not a huge number of looks, but he looks more confident and strong finishing at the rim. And the 2-point shot coming around for him, the 2-point scoring, which was usually kind of a black hole for him in the past, it's a big deal. And you add that with the defense, and like, he's a 3-point shot away from being a damn effective player, which again can mean a whole lot of different things for him or whatever team he ends up on if the Raptors are looking to maybe move him. I think Scottie himself is figuring some stuff out too. These last 7 games, 24, 7, and 7 on 56% on his twos in that span. I think it speaks to how good he's been offensively, that his 3-point shot has fallen off a cliff, and it just doesn't seem to matter. He's still as effective as ever. We'll talk about what he did against the zone coming up in a second here. Crazy effective against the zone in the third quarter in particular. But just super at ease, knows exactly who he is on offense. This is player development. And it happens not just for your young guys with plenty of things to figure out. It happens to your veterans. It happens to guys who've been around. When you're playing competitive basketball games that matter, that have actual stakes, it just fosters improvement, because you kind of got to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to stack wins in a league where it's hard to stack wins. Everyone's good. Everyone's scouting you. Everyone has an idea of what you want to do. You have to make incremental improvements and refine your craft. Otherwise, you're going to be dead and lost at sea. Even Jamal Shead, really seems to be finding a new level over the last couple of games. Really good stuff from him last night. I thought him and Quickley, just the way they shared on-ball duties and sort of just had great balance in the backcourt, was awesome. And don't look now. And this is, again, small sample stuff. I don't know if I really buy it at all, but 0.8 attempts a game on pull-up threes for Jamal Shead this season, the exact same volume as last year, where he shot 24%, 35% on his pull-up threes this season for Jamal Shead. Hit a big one last night. It's not a shot that I necessarily think I count on with Jamal Shead, but it's also the shot that makes point guard careers. And if that's something that can come around as a real weapon for him, again, over time, developmentally, through, many, many reps, I don't know. Again, not saying it's a thing yet, just something that's worth monitoring. And again, I just think you're seeing across the board, even Brandon Ingram settling into his role and kind of figuring things out. And I think playing a way more streamlined game these last couple times out. It's just the effect of playing real basketball. And it's very fun to watch these sort of incremental improvements happen on the fly for so many of these guys. And there will surely be more ahead. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk about, finally, at long last, busting a zone defense and how damn satisfying it was. We will talk about that in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax, and tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. And look, I've talked about it before. I have a weird job. I'm an independent contractor. I hate doing my taxes. They're a nightmare. They're stinky. It's the worst part of my year, and I'm dreading that they're coming up right now. But TurboTax is going to make it so this year I don't got to worry about it. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork, all for just $150 all in. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms and meeting all the different things I got to do, I can meet with a local expert from TurboTax in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, and really it just takes a bit of life admin off your plate. Pretty sweet. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes last year, just file by February the 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Back at it here on your Thursday edition of Locked On Raptors, breaking down the game against the Kings. And we'll hone in here on the third quarter. We're finally, at long last, the Toronto Raptors did what grown-ups do and busted a zone defense. And yes, it's just the Sacramento Kings zone defense, but still, I'm taking the win where I can get it. And the Raptors finally figured it out against a defense that is like not designed to be played for entire halves or entire games and get consistent results. Real teams figure this out. I talked about it earlier this week. The least serious thing about this team, which has otherwise been a pretty serious basketball team all year long, is that they just cannot score against zone defense. And last night, finally burst the dam in the third quarter against the Kings. It's look, again, it's zone's meant to be like an element of surprise. It's meant to be a junk thing they throw at you for 2-3 possessions to get you off kilter, to sneak a couple of defensive stops out. Not something that is supposed to be thrown out 37 times over the course of a game, which is what the Kings threw at the Raptors last night. And in particular, first quarter, after the Raptors started hot, 12-3, the Kings went zone. The Raptors offense dried up. The Kings found some luck against a sort of discombobulated Raptors defense that totally honed in later on in the game. But the Raptors against the zone, scored on 4 of 10 zone possessions they saw in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, as the game kind of spiraled out of control for a little bit and the Kings looked like they might run away with it, the Raptors scored just 3 times against 14 zone possessions. Not great. Then the third quarter comes around, and thankfully, they just kind of got it together. And they saw 12 zone possessions in that quarter. They scored 9 times. And I went back and watched them all. They created good looks on basically every single one of those 12 possessions. And they did it not in the sort of fashion we've seen them try to bust zone earlier in the year, where it's just like, all right, we'll just like pass it around the horn and wait for a 3 and just hope that's our save. Maybe we get some free throw line action from Scottie Barnes. This time they were intentional about getting free throw line action from Scottie Barnes. They got Brandon Ingram working at the nail. And you know, I think the main component was they just found a way to burst through that initial shield that the zone provides at the point of attack at the top of the arc. And Immanuel Quickley, I thought, was really excellent coming out. First possession of the third quarter, comes out, takes a screen, gets into the teeth of the defense, hits a floater. Had 3, 4, 5 possessions against the zone in that third quarter where he was just darting into the teeth of the defense, piercing it like a fork getting into a hungry man that you're throwing in the microwave, just plunging in, creating stuff from there, causing havoc, collapses, passes out, whatever. Really good stuff from Quickley there. Jamal Shead had a really good drive as well, where he just kind of turned on the Jets, got to the rim, got free throws out of it. But then Scottie Barnes, like, they put this one away because free throw line Scottie Barnes is devastating. Free throw line Scottie Barnes is basically an all-star unto himself. He's awesome. He's automatic from the mid-range. He's hitting that shot. I mean, it's not a surprise, right? He's up to like 84, 85% from the line this season. He's been dead-eye shooter at the line, and he just takes those shots regularly within the course of the flow from the nail, and it's automatic, it's butter, and it's awesome. And it's leaving defenses now having to like really run him off of that free throw line jumper, and you're seeing the counters, right? We've seen the pump and step through and finger roll, which has been just a delightful little counter he's worked in. And then last night, I think he also flashed a thing that he very clearly can do from those positions on the floor, which is just bully dudes. DeMar DeRozan at one point, guarding Scottie at the free throw line, flashing to the middle, gets the pass, sort of thinks for a second, what am I going to do? Am I going to shoot? DeMar's kind of up in his kitchen. And Scottie just says, well, I'm stronger than you, DeMar, and I'm going to drive by you. I'm going to score through you. And just like the optionality out of Scottie Barnes working the nail against the zone, they were really intentional, again, about getting him there. They were intentional about getting people in the nail sort of all night long, sort of rotating through. Good movement, which has been a real issue with their zone offense throughout the season, where it's just like very stagnant, very just kind of pass around the horn and hope something happens. Usually something doesn't happen. In this case, it was like screen the zone, flash to the middle. If nothing's there, kind of quickly dart out. Next guy kind of cycles in. It kind of not unlike how when you watch like a hockey game and like a team has the puck possession deep in the other team's zone and they kind of cycle it around and just kind of fill gaps and wait for an opening. They ran like a cycle offense almost against the zone last night to the Raptors, and it worked out. Again, scored 9 times on 12 possessions in the third, forced Doug Christie to put it away. And when you force the Sacramento Kings to play man-to-man defense, you're going to torch the Sacramento Kings. They go on and win the third quarter 43-21, never really in doubt after that. And yeah, just it shouldn't be this bad. It shouldn't be that we are celebrating successful zone offense when it happens, but it's been such a rare occasion that it's worth an entire segment on the podcast when it happens. And they kind of told on themselves last night with it, right? Like, and again, the Kings are no great shakes. Like pulling apart the Kings zone is different than pulling apart the Miami Heat zone, surely. But zone is not all that different team to team. Like, again, it's a defense designed for college players and players who aren't good at defense to be able to have a chance playing defense. And so I think we've seen they've got the horses to do the inside out thing against the zone. They have the horses to pull things apart with the work they do with the nail, whether it's Ingram, whether it's Scottie, whether it's Colin Murray-Boyles when he's healthy. And if you have like a more bursty Immanuel Quickley capable of punching into the defense and shooting those gaps, which is a thing that I think Brandon Ingram's really struggled with this year, is like the creator against zone. He's not been able to turn the corner. When he sees those sort of two defenders converge, he can't split them. Quickley did a good job of that last night. Shead did a good job of that last night. Like, that's the recipe there. Maybe the threes aren't going to fall. They just shouldn't be dependent upon threes for them to be able to beat zone, because they have so much cooking for them on the interior with their mid-range shooting, with their passing, with their cutting. Like, they should be able to get by and force teams to go away from zone pretty quickly. Took them, 3 quarters to do it last night, but eventually they got there. And again, kind of told on themselves, like, they can run better zone offense than they have this season. And you hope that this just becomes a thing that becomes a little blip in the season. And again, going back to the sort of development thing, right? Over the course of a year, you get scouted. You have to adapt to what teams are doing to you. They're seeing a ton of zone lately. The Lakers threw out like 40 plus possessions against them on Sunday. They saw 37 possessions of it last night. You see it enough times, in theory, you should figure it out. And hopefully they've seen it enough now, they can start to stack these good games against the zone together. And then over time, teams will just be like, well, I guess we shouldn't zone this team up because, Scottie Barnes is going to eat our lunch. They got to do it more times to change scouting reports. But hopefully this is a start, because, really don't want to be talking about zone offense anymore. It's not that interesting. It's not very fun. It's just like, do the basic things and try to score points and move on and stop getting owned by high school defense, please. We'll come back on the other side, get into the good, the bad, and the and this time around, it's the good, the sad, and the because the Sacramento Kings depress me. We'll do that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there's got to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make if you're a small business owner. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed, and it works from your phone or from your computer. And you can even keep your existing number if you switch over from your current provider to Quo. That's a huge deal. And it's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedinNBA. That's QUO.com/lockedinNBA. Quo, no missed calls and no missed customers. All right, wrapping things up here with the good, the bad, and the It's the way we wrap up every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing I liked, thing I didn't like, and this got me a little intrigued from the latest in Toronto Raptors hoops. Before we dive into that, just a reminder, you can sign up for the Locked On Raptors Everydayer Club. It is a lovely thing. You get to sign up $5 a month, $50 for the year, gets you ad-free episodes of the show every single day. You also get access to a Locked On listener Discord from Locked On fans from across the globe talking sports. It's great. It's starting to pick up some heat. The NBA chat there is pretty good. Come hang out. We'd love to see you. But again, $5 a month, $50 for the year, supports the show, supports me, and gets you ad-free episodes of the show. So it's uninterrupted. It's me without any breaks. What a wonderful thing. All right. Back to the good, the bad, and the We'll start with the good, as we always do. Of course, that's how it's ordered. MAMU. Holy MAMU. Where would the Toronto Raptors be without MAMU? Incredible last night, stepping into the starting lineup. 22 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, 8 of 14, 3 of 5 from downtown, a plus 15. MAMU freaking rules. He's been such a wonderful addition. Again, you can kind of do your whole analytical breakdowns if you want. Easily one of the most impactful free agent signings in the entire league this past summer. And it grows more evident by the day that the Raptors got to pull the right cranks and levers to keep this guy around. He's been huge for unlocking Scottie Barnes. He's been huge for unlocking just different types of lineups the Raptors can play. Like, there's a variability to the different looks the Raptors can throw out, and having a stretch big like MAMU who can do what he can do offensively, it's a big reason why. And he's been crucial, obviously, to how they've weathered the storm without Jakob Poeltl so effectively. No Colin Murray-Boyles last night either, right? Like, he's just filling in so beautifully. And look, again, they got plenty of time to figure this out. And, the league is not going to be flush with cap space this summer. So it might not be the most competitive market necessarily, but there's going to be a team out there that wants MAMU. Surely the Raptors are going to have to try to do what they can to keep him and pull whatever things they have up their sleeves cap maneuvering wise to do it. A reminder, they don't have his bird rights. Like, they're going to have to just it's the Bruce Brown thing with the Denver Nuggets a couple of years ago. If it's not the mid-level exception, if it's more than that, they'll probably be out of the mix. I don't think he's going to get more than the mid-level out there. Can you get him for slightly less than the mid-level? It's, this is where the Gradey Dick thing becomes interesting, right? Like, do you want to keep Gradey Dick around and hope to nurture him into a helpful basketball player for the team? If it all comes together, he certainly can be that. It hasn't all come together yet. If you can get MAMU, signed up at the expense of moving on from Gradey Dick's salary, is that worth it? All things the Raptors got to consider, but MAMU, delight. So good last night. And this IQ, Shead, Ingram, Barnes, MAMU lineup, kind of small sample, haven't really done well by the numbers so far, but last night, a plus 39 net rating in 11 minutes, a 139 offensive rating, a 100 defensive rating. Again, just 11 minutes, tiny sample overall. They've only played 85 possessions, and they've actually lost those minutes by a lot, but kind of may have the makings of a bit of a staple lineup for the Raptors. More shooting, space, ball handling with the two guards. I think there's something there. I really like that group, and they were damn effective last night. The sad, replacing the bad, which, I mean, they're also bad, but the Sacramento Kings, man. What the hell happened here? Like, this was such a delightful team not long ago. The Beam team was one of the more fun regular season teams I can recall watching recently. And now Russell Westbrook is taking 22 shots and leading them. And DeMar DeRozan is just kind of playing out the string of an illustrious career in a very depressing way. And Zach LaVine continues to play the lowest stakes hoops imaginable. I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of weird Raptors cast-offs on this team, from Precious Achiuwa to Dennis Schroeder, who, by the way, looked last night like he was really trying to have a revenge game against the Raptors. I feel like he's the kind of guy who just kind of tries to have a revenge game against any team that he perceives to have slighted him at any point, because he's that kind of crazy, weird character, one of the most bizarre characters of the NBA in the last 15 years. He's there. If Dennis Schroeder's on your team, it's kind of a bad sign for your vibes. Malik Monk's barely playing. He was really good last night. Wouldn't hate Malik Monk on the Toronto Raptors, by the way. It's just, it's so gross, so nasty, so upsetting. They're not even playing Devin Carter and Keon Ellis, who are two guys who might be actually worth playing. The Kings bum me out. If I'm a fan of the Kings, I feel so bad for them. It's a nightmare, and I'm so glad that this was my first exposure to them this year, because I'm a self-respecting adult. I have not stayed up to watch late night Sacramento Kings basketball this season once. It's a problem I used to have back in my youth. It was, ooh, Kings Bucks, 10:30 p.m. Let's do it. Not doing it now, because why would I do that to myself? They're a nightmare, and I'm glad we only have one more game against the Kings to watch this season, because holy crap, they upset me so badly. Great job finding some success with zone defense. Good for you. Boy, oh boy, they are depression incarnate. Kind of an uncomfortable for me. And it's the sinking feeling I got when it looked like Jamal Shead might have taken a knock in the second half of this game. Knee, leg, whatever. Just maybe bump knees with someone. Went to the bench, and it was a very stressful commercial break before they came back, and he was sitting on the bench and not back in the tunnel. Staring down a world where there's exactly one guy healthy on the team with effective guard skills. Pretty horrifying stuff. And again, we've seen Immanuel Quickley's at his best playing with Jamal Shead, and those two guard lineups have been great. It really just kind of hammered home to me the need for another guard on this team to just kind of bolster things for the playoff run. And honestly, I think I'm at the point where I'd be totally fine and open to them even pursuing a rental guard. I know rental's this boogeyman word because people don't like the concept of losing someone for nothing at the end of a season, but I think the idea of just like getting someone to be a stopgap, a bridge to next season, who can provide like real value down the stretch as a third guard, allow you to play more 2-guard lineups, give you some insurance if someone's got to miss some time. They've been very lucky with the health of Shead and Quickley this season. Maybe you don't want to play that game too much longer and you want to get some insurance in behind just in case injuries happen. Again, rental, I think I'd be fine with, because rentals are not going to cost you very much, right? Like rentals are, like, especially for guys who are like about to theoretically get paid, there's not a single less valuable type of player in the league right now, because teams don't want to be adding new money. Teams want to be getting off money. And if you're trading for someone who in theory, maybe he's going to be about to be an RFA or something, like, you have to really consider what that does to your books long term. But if you're only giving up 2-3 second round picks plus salary filler, which might only be the cost for some of these rental guards, I'm in the mix for that. Like, I think that's worthwhile for the Raptors with where they're at. It kind of allows them to have their cake and eat it too, and that they bolster their team for this year without compromising anything going forward. And, I think if you get a guy's bird rights, a guy who keeps coming to mind for me is Ayo Dosunmu with the Bulls. Just a good, effective player who they seemingly have no desire to pay because the Bulls are weird and don't like good players. But, if you got him on the team for the stretch run, even with the assumption maybe he walks in the summer, you get his bird rights. You have a fallback in the event that you can't keep MAMU. You have a fallback of just like, well, we can keep a talented player with the bird rights we have on this guy and pay Ayo. These guys are probably not going to get big contracts. They might get squeezed up by the market. And maybe you can, again, don't just like extend them the day you trade for him. If you wait till the summer and see how things play out, maybe you get a guy on a bargain deal just because that's how the market has gone. And it kind of eases the pain if you end up losing MAMU because some team comes in with a big offer. It just like, does Ochai plus Jonathan Mobo plus 3 seconds get you Ayo Dosunmu? I think it might. Like, I don't think there's going to be a huge market for these expiring guards who are due some money. And again, there's no downside. If you don't pay him, you don't pay him. You just get some money freed off the books and you go forward, having had a nice, bolster of a rental run from a guy. And then you figure out the third guard situation going into next season. And again, there's always the option to keep him if he's awesome and you figure things out. But yeah, I don't know. Rental doesn't need to be a boogeyman word to me. I think it could be maybe a pretty effective down the middle solution for the Raptors here without committing longer term money, but also just getting a guy in the door. And we might talk about some more rental guys when we have Joe Wolf on the podcast tomorrow to play another round of Race Against the Duck, where I put a bunch of names of trade candidates in a hat, pull them out one by one, and we each have 90 seconds before my duck alarm goes off on my phone, and then we have to stop talking and move to the next guy. That will be tomorrow's podcast. And frankly, that's where we're going to leave today's show. Thank you so much for rocking with the podcast, following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, telling a friend. Always appreciated when you support the show. However it is you choose to support the show. You can join the Discord, link in the description of the podcast, 100% free to join the Locked On Raptors Discord. You can also be part of the Locked On Network Discord, plus get ad-free episodes of the show by joining the Everydayer Club, $5 a month, $50 for the year. I think it's a great deal, and it supports me big time and really makes me feel good. So thanks in advance. We've got a few signups already. We'd love to see some more. And that Locked On Discord's kind of getting rolling here, and there's some good stuff going on, especially in the NBA chat. So come and hop in there as well. And we'll be back again on Friday to go and talk more about trade stuff, because that's what people like. In the meantime, you can check out the postcast last night with Zelfie and Dwayne as well. They're doing live reactions after every single Raptors game, because frankly, I'm asleep right after Raptors games and don't have it in me to go live right after them. So Zelfie and Dwayne do it, and they're awesome. So you have that to look forward to after every single game as well. We will leave it there. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Buckets.